Hey guys, today we're going to take a closer look at the Flashpoint Zoom Mini for the Fujifilm camera. I purchased this about a week ago, and if you guys are looking for this light, you can find it through Adorama, the Flashpoint brand. It's also the Godox TT350F. Now the difference between them is zero. It's the exact same flash, it's just rebranded for Godox. They call it the Zoom Mini, and the Godox version is the TT350F. Exact same unit. And even in the videos, including this one, I'll use those names interchangeably. And in the box, you'll get a bag, which I never use, a stand, a pretty cool diffuser, which I do use. They're about $6 or $8, and it's hard to hard to find these for the smaller units, as well as a very well written instruction manual. I wish more companies would do a good job. I purchased a few Godox brand flashes a couple years ago, and the instructions were nowhere near as good as this. I don't know if they have improved them or if Flashpoint themselves have rewritten the manuals, but very well documented. Like to see that. And the unit itself, it's very small, compact, and it's really, this line of flashes are designed for these new mirrorless cameras. They make this is the Fuji brand, or the Fuji for the Fuji camera. They make it for Olympus, Sony, and I think Panasonic. And it's the size factor, right? I mean, they know people don't want, this is a standard speed light. It's a Yongnuo 560 version 4, and I mean, it's night and day difference, right? The reason we want these small cameras is we want this small form factor. We're not going to stick these huge speed lights on top. Now, I used these until we had a full Fuji supported lights out there. I used the Yongnuos with the small trigger on top of the camera, and I would hold this or use a light stand. I don't want it on top of the camera. This little small unit, I had this at a grad party all day yesterday, and it just fits it perfectly. The small size matches. This is a Fuji X-T2. Great. Now, with the size comes obviously some compromise. Now, one of the biggest compromises is power. You can't expect to get the same amount of power out of the small light as you do the standard size light. I did some testing. You watch my other video, and I set the Zoom Mini 1:1. I was in a poorly lit room. I used my Sekonic light meter to make sure both of the lights were perfect exposures to see how much power out of the Zoom, the smaller flash, has compared to a standard speed light. And a lot of people have the Yongnuo 560s. This is version 4, but the version 2s, the version 3s, and really any other standard speed light is a good comparison. And I was around a quarter power. So what this tells you is, if you're using your speed light today and you're around a quarter power, you should be good with the output of this. Now, this has TTL, it has high speed sync. With high speed sync, even a standard speed light is limited. You're even much more limited now with this small flash. It is cool to have it. I was playing around with it yesterday in the daylight, but don't expect much power from it. If you don't know what high speed sync is, it'll burst a series of flashes so you don't have an issue with your sync curtain between your first and second curtain. But in a nutshell, you're trying to overpower the sun. You're bringing down your high exposure and you're illuminating your subject. Just doesn't have a lot of power for that. You have more leverage than you had without it, don't get me wrong, but you're very limited. I used it maybe a half to a full stop, and I had to get really close to the subject, and obviously no diffuser panel at all. Just didn't have the power. TTL is great. Running and gunning for the small children. You're trying to capture the moment. They're not going to sit and pose until you get your light meter or your exposure correctly. And that feature is great. It rotates full 180 back and off to the side. So no matter, and all the way up, no matter if you're using it for standard, you're trying to get, in using a bounce flash, you're good. Or if you're shooting it in portrait, you're good as well, because again, you can adjust it pretty well. The battery, you can get to the batteries off to the side, and you don't have to take the unit off your camera to get to the batteries. Okay. When we're talking about batteries, they don't last a long time. I didn't take any spares with me, and I wish I would have. And I ran out about halfway through the event, the graduation party. I ran out of juice. I had to borrow a couple Duracells from my friend's wife. And one thing I've learned, and I always use any loop batteries, and I know they're thought of or sought after as one of the better battery companies out there. I didn't realize how much of a difference it actually made. She gave me 2 new Duracells, and what I experienced was crazy, horribly crazy flash recycle times. And I'll go ahead and show you guys. I'm going to turn the unit on. These are the Duracells in it now. And I'm going to count my recycle time. I'm going to go into manual 1:1, full power. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi, 8 Mississippi. Do it again. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi, 8 Mississippi, 9. Like 9 seconds. Oh my God, I thought maybe the batteries were dying. So I went home and I put some brand new Energizer batteries, and I experienced the same thing. With the Any loops, I was getting much faster, 3-second recycle times, which is what I kind of expected from a unit like this. I'll show you guys that. Turn it back on. Still full power. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. So about 3 seconds, right? And it's consistently like 2.5, 3 seconds in that range for me. It just blew my mind away using NiCad batteries, how poor recycle time you have. So if you guys have one of these, if you don't know it already, maybe I'm the last one to the party, get Any loops, because the other NiCads just isn't an option. You might think it's an option, it's just not an option. So that's that. Make sure you bring extra Any loops. I will for now on. I usually have a backup in my camera bag. This was kind of grabbed my camera. I didn't bring anything. I threw a spare battery in my pocket, but I didn't bring any flash batteries. I figured, hey, I'm not going to use the flash all the time. I went through the whole shoot with the originally fully charged battery in the XT2, but went through 2 sets of batteries on the flash. So not a long power on the flash, but hey, that's okay. I can carry a couple extra AA batteries. Just letting you know if you're buying it. If you're looking for a full-size speed light, they are coming out with a couple very soon, couple weeks. You can buy one on pre-order. They go by the TT350, which is the standard, like the Young Now, 4 AA batteries, or the 860, which I have 2 that I'm purchasing. Same size, same power factor, but what you get is lithium-ion battery packs, and the advantage of that is 2 things. One is faster recycle times, and the second is battery life. From what I'm hearing, they last a very, very long time, and you don't have to worry about changing batteries. So it's worth the extra $40, $50 price difference for me. There's some sales right now, even though they're not out. You can get the lithium-ion packs for in the 150-ish range from Autorama right now. So look for those. I'm picking a couple of these up, but I am not going to use these on top of the camera. They're too big. Instead, I will be using a controller. Now, here's the controller. This is the Flashpoint R2 controller. The Godox version, I believe, is the X1 X1F for Fuji, I believe that's what it's called. And I'm going to show you guys the difference in the size. Shut this off. Slip this off. I'm going to pop this on. And this is the Canon version, but it's going to be the same size. Okay. Now, when they came out with the 860s and the 685s, and if I need more power, like doing some high-speed sync, but still trying to go light with the speed light, I'm gonna shoot like this, right? I'm gonna have a controller on top and a speed light in my hand. These are just too big to have on top of your camera, in my opinion. Okay. And the lock, it's just a normal cam lock. You just tighten it so it's nice and snug. The direct competitor to this light would be the Nissan i40. And to me, this one blows it away for a few different reasons. One is this is both TTL and high-speed sync. The Nissan version is not, or at least it wasn't the last time I checked. I think you had TTL but not high-speed sync. The other big difference is price. This can be had right now for $76. The Nissan is much, much more expensive. I think it's like double the price. And lastly is the radio options. Now you can use this as a standard on-camera flash like the Nissan i40, but you can also use it as a master controller or use it as an off-camera as a receiving unit. And I'll go ahead and show you guys that now. I'm going to go into sync mode. I'm going to hold that down until it starts flashing. And right now I'm in master. That bottom end means I'm master. The S means that I'm in slave or receiving mode. So if you had two of these, or when they come out with the transmitter variety, you can use this as off camera. Don't know why you would. It's small unless you're using it for a little hair light. You can use it. I'm going to go back into master mode. I'm going to hold down that sync button again. Okay, go into master mode. So right now, this TT350, or in my case the Zoom Mini, is acting like the controller. It's doing the same functions as this unit would do here. Since this isn't out yet, this is what we have. And I'm going to go ahead and cycle through. The M is the flash is shut off. This is the main flash on the camera. It means it's deactivated because I'm really wanting to control off-camera flash at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate. Hit the slave button, which will go through the different groups. Okay. Now I'm going to go to Group A. Group A is my Flashpoint Evolve 200 or the AD200 if you have the Godox brand. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. And this is like 3 standard speed lights, not 3 of these. 3 standard full-size speed lights. But it's also in a nice small form factor package. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. Okay, guys. And I'm at Group A, and right now it's off. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. So, Group A, manual mode. When I adjust this flash, it's also going to adjust it. I should just put it in TTL mode. It's in TTL mode on the speed light itself, or in this case the Evolve. I'm going to go ahead and fire. This flashed, and the one on the camera did not flash in TTL. So that's how you can use it in off camera. And if you're trying to do off camera right now, what's available with the firmware. Now, if you guys want to buy the Evolve 200 or the AD200, they just dropped firmware for not only this, but the 8600 or the Explorer 600. I also have great light. You can use this as a controller to remotely control TTL high-speed sync with the Evolve 200, the AD600, as well as if you have a Godox 685 or 860 for another camera brand. Now you can't use it on the hot shoe, but if you have a Nikon or Canon or Sony version of the 685s, which is the standard version or the standard size speed lights, but for the other camera manufacturers, you can use those as off-camera lights, and you can control high-speed sync, TTL, and all those features using a controller like this, or when they come out with a controller for the Fuji here. So in order to do these things, you need to upgrade the firmware. I upgraded the firmware on this Evolve 200 from the Godox website. You can do the same for the 685s and all the other ones, this Explorer 8600. Once you do that, you have a very powerful off-camera flash system, mono lights like the 600 all the way down to the speedlight variety. So that is great. It's something that you cannot do with the Nissan i40, right? So I don't have to. If I want to have a small on-camera flash to walk around and use it as a bounce flash, I don't have to keep on switching back and forth or having two receivers or two transmitters on top of my camera. I can leave this on my camera and use it as a standard bounce flash, or whip out a studio strobe like the 8600 and control it without having to swap things around. Now you'll notice that my light has stayed on for this video, so you could see it a little better. I went into the advanced settings and turned it on all the time. And if you want to get to that, you can always reference the manual. It's very clear. It's in the back. But you hold down the zoom key here, the zoom button, and backlit, I have it on. You hit the set button. You can turn it to say off or 10 seconds, which 10 seconds is the default. Okay, I'm going to leave it on for this illustration. There's also a couple settings in here for different things. You don't really need to access some of those things because you can do it in your camera itself. That's what's really cool about this flash. It's integrated into your camera menu, which I'll show you in a second. The only really two features you're gonna use is the backlight if you want it on. I like the standard 10 seconds other than I'm doing a YouTube video. The other thing that you're gonna want to do or use is your timeout. It's set for on is the default. You can set it to not timeout, meaning if you are using this as an off-camera flash, you don't want it to time out after like 15 seconds of no use, because you're going to have to keep on going and turning it back on. So the only time you really need to go in these settings, in my opinion, is if you're using this as an off-camera flash. Other than that, you're going to use it in the normal speedlight mode or into this remote settings or this off-camera controller settings. And you can leave it on this setting all the time. You just simply turn your other speedlights off. In this case, I can shut this off. I can shut it off by turning the power off, or I can turn this off by I'm going to turn the group off this way. And then I could go to my other group, which M is my group for this unit here. I'm going to turn this on. So now I'm just using the speedlight, the Zoom Mini, as the flash. So you have a lot of different options. It's got zoom, and it knows your lens. AU is automatic. All right, you can go to zoom and you can adjust it, and it's going to adjust it. And what that does is if you're trying to get a broader or narrow pattern to get more distance, you can do the zoom manual. If you have a Fuji lens and it knows, like the 1855 that's on it now, you can set it to auto and it'll adjust accordingly. Okay. The other thing that it does is, say I'm in either auto or in one of these other settings, and if I pull this out, it will go to, see, it locks it out. It'll go into 12 millimeter. It knows this diffuser is out, and it knows you want the widest angle possible, and it will automatically just boom go to 12 millimeter, and then when you push it back in, it'll resume to whatever setting that you had previously, which is really, really neat. So if you're pulling it out just as a quick bounce on a flash card, you don't have to switch it back. I thought that was pretty cool. I mentioned that it's very integrated into your Fuji menu system, and so as you can see, I'm showing TTL. I'm going to go into the menu system right now and go into the flash menu. Okay. TTL. Now, when I make some adjustments here, I'm going to go, I'm using radio camera, so I'm going to basically go back into the other mode, and that way I can control it from the camera. So this is the normal mode. I'm going to go ahead and hit set. Okay. So if I adjust flash compensation, I can do it from the camera. Okay, I can adjust it. And if I adjust it from the camera, it also changes it on the speed light, and vice versa. If I want to adjust it on the speed light, first you press the set and then turn the dial setting. Okay. Now if I want to switch modes, as you can see, it's also switching it on the camera. You don't have to hit the set button when you're in manual. You just turn the dial accordingly. Okay. High-speed sync. High-speed sync is set, and if I want to do rear curtain, if I'm shooting at night, I'm not going to use high-speed sync. I'm going to go into the sync settings on the camera. And if you're not showing high-speed sync and you want it, this is where you're going to have to turn it on. Auto FP. That is, and it gives you an indicator high-speed sync. Now, that's fine. That's kind of a multi-use setting, but if you're at night and you want to take a shot, and you want to get the trailing effect from cars, which is more of a natural effect, I'm going to flip to second curtain sync, rear curtain sync on the flash. That's how I usually do it at night, and it's indicated on your flash. Okay. The other thing you can control from here or in the previous menu is your Autofocus Assist lamp. Now, someone else posted in another video, they thought that the infrared light on the zoom did not work because it's a mirrorless camera. Well, you probably read it about the Sony cameras. Now, the Sony cameras, the LED, the infrared will work on the A-series cameras, the big DSLR Sony cameras, but they don't work on the A6000s, 6300s, A7Rs because it's a conflict within Sony itself, not necessarily the unit, the flash unit. So I'm going to go ahead and hold my hand over here, and I have Autofocus Assist on, right? So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys. It does work, which is nice. It comes in handy. In order for it to work, you have to be in S mode on your autofocus mode. It won't work per the instructions on any other mode. There's also you can set it back to catch light, which catch light, it turns on your integrated white light, autofocus light. It's not much of a catch light, as you guys know, but you can switch it back and forth. But that's about it. You can adjust your flash compensation. In your camera, I don't see why you would. I mean, the whole advantage is you have it here on the flash. It's a button. It's easy to get to. I would never use it the other way. But as you can see, it's very integrated, which is really cool. The exposure on this, it's pretty right on every single time. I'm pretty impressed. When you're using TTL, sometimes you can get a lot of variations in your samples if you're doing multiple shots, and this has been very pleasantly to say this has been right on as far as exposure goes. And so far, guys, I'm extremely happy. Thanks for watching. If you guys have any other questions, let me know. I know this video is probably already gone on too long. I'll probably do another one on detail how to make your settings, change your settings and what they're for. But thanks for watching. You guys have a good one. Take care.